Appuntamento con la poesia straniera, Patrick McGuinness, che sarà accompagnato e introdotto dalla sua traduttrice Giorgia Sensi. Prego, accomodatevi. Vi lascio il palco, grazie. You're welcome, prego.
Well, shall we sit down? Or... Yes? Ok. Ci
I
mettiamo
will
qui.
stand,
Ok,
anyway.
ok. Patrick McGuinness non è solo un poeta, è anche un accademico di Oxford, un critico letterario, un romanziere e ha pubblicato un romanzo che si chiama The Last 100 Days, che non è mai stato tradotto in italiano ed è sui 100 giorni appunto del regime di Ceausescu. Ha pubblicato un bellissimo memoir che si chiama Other People's Countries, che non è stato tradotto in italiano, e il mese prossimo uscirà un suo nuovo romanzo che si chiama Throw Me to the Wolves, e questa volta sarà pubblicato in italiano prossimamente dall'editore Guanda. Oggi leggeremo invece poesie dalla sua ultima raccolta, una nostra antologia di poesie scelte, poesie vecchie, poesie nuove, con anche qualche brano di prosa, che si chiama Déjà Vu. A voi, Patrick McGuinness.
Thank you very much. I will begin by saying a few words about, very brief words, you'll be glad to know, about the sort of poetry that I write. When Samuel Beckett was asked if he was English, he would always reply, au contraire. And it's very interesting to think what the opposite of English might be for those of us who speak and live in English, but are not English. Do you want to translate that a bit?
Patrick ha citato Beckett, che quando gli chiedevano se era inglese, what did he say?
Au contraire.
Au contraire, au contraire. And so now, adesso vi parlerà della sua nazionalità.
And this poetry really is English poetry, but it's also au contraire. That is to say, the words are English, but I don't think it's English.
Quindi questa poesia appunto è au contraire, perché le parole sono inglesi, ma lui non crede che sia inglese.
And as somebody who was brought up speaking French, French is my mother tongue, I ended up writing in English because I was sent to school in England. So I find myself in a strange situation which maybe others find, which is that in English I can say more than I feel, and in French I can feel more than I can say. And there's been a kind of linguistic split, an in-betweenness, which is where I think I write from.
Quindi c'è uno split, no? Uno staccamento tra la sua lingua, che lui definisce materna perché era la lingua di sua madre, che è il francese, e l'inglese in cui scrive, che è la lingua in cui si esprime ma non sente, mentre il francese è la lingua in cui sente ma non si esprime.
Which, for a poet, is very good, but for a human being, which some poets are, can be quite painful.
E per un poeta va bene, ma per un essere umano, e il poeta è un essere umano, può essere anche doloroso.
I think that's okay. I'll just read now. This poem is called Belgitude. It's a homage to my patrie, which is Belgium. I spent autumn learning about autumn, that its unmistakable confusion about what it was, was what made it what it was. So with Belgium, it was the first post-national state. Wars came there to be fought, got tired, and moved on. Surveys showed that most Belgians questioned would have preferred to come from somewhere else. Truly, this was home, I thought, all the more so as home had been a drain on my awareness, took a little more of me away from me each year. I came to it side on as one climbs into a moving bus. I discovered the world was a small town, or, at any rate, vice versa. Soon I learned to keep my mouth shut in 2 languages. I called home on lobster telephones, in a hail of bowler hats. Trains ran on time, travelling micro-distances in decades. After a while, I fitted in by looking out of place, swept into a street-long tidal wave of curtain lace. The first thing you learn when you move to another country is how to keep your mouth shut in 2 languages. Is that worth translating, Giorgia? Keeping your mouth shut in 2 languages?
Keep your mouth shut in 2 languages, is it a good thing?
Well, it's necessary.
It's necessary, è necessario a volte.
The age of the empty chair. In Monet's The Beach at Trouville, it is week 1 of the Franco-Prussian War. The chair lodges in the sand between 2 women. One reads, the other points her face at the emptying beach. The chair belongs to no one. It is a found chair. It is a trouvaille, and there is not 1 chair too many, but 1 sitter too few. A flag, rigid on its pole, indicates a swelling in the air, or something stronger, and the rent waves, delicate turmoils of spume and lace, are distant cousins of the revolution, bound into the ebb and flow it breaks free of, then breaks back into. There is sand in the paint. The place is mixed into its making, and even the brushstrokes replicate the water's peaks as they take the light. Roofs pell-mell across a city skyline, flashpoints in the sun. The chair suggests all that can be suggested about change, but it remains apart from it. The way a sail suggests the wind, the way a shell holds a recording of the waves, even as the waves turn around it. The painting by Monet is La Plage à Trouville, and what's interesting about that painting is that it looks very, very apolitical, nothing's happening. But you look at the date, 1870 into 1871, and it's a highly political date, the Commune and all that. And suddenly the newspaper that you think they're reading for no reason becomes political, and everything becomes dangerous and at risk again. And I like those moments in life and in experience where things turn, become something else. I'm sorry if you have to translate that.
Yeah. So la spiaggia, l'età della sedia vuota, quindi è il quadro di Monet, la spiaggia a Trouville, che è in effetti una poesia non politica, però se uno guarda la data, 1870-71, si accorge che in effetti è politica. E il giornale che le donne leggono, o che una delle due, one of the two reads, una delle due legge, fa in effetti è una dichiarazione politica.
So the next poem is called Bouillon, the Old Station. This is a homage to my grandfather, who was the laziest man in the village. And he was the one who said to me, you should never get a job because it interrupts your day. And I've tried to stay faithful to that, but I've failed.
La prossima poesia è Bouillon, che è una città belga, ed è un omaggio a suo nonno, che, dice Patrick, era la persona più pigra che lui avesse mai conosciuto, e il suo insegnamento è stato quello di non trovare mai un lavoro, non trova un lavoro.
Good. No train has stopped here since the 50s, but it remains in all the ways that count, my stop. It still says gare above the arch. The guichet's glass has stayed unbroken. The tracks are gone, but there's a kind of stitching in the ground, parallel scars where grass shrinks back from growing. Then, curbside vertigo, that 2-foot drop from platform edge into the next arrival, its endlessly suspended service and a few never so aptly named as here, now, railway sleepers hold all I've ever known in miniature of the world's speed and its solidity, a delirium of lost footings followed by the knowledge that there is nowhere further I could fall. This is still the Quartier de la Gare, where the rain comes down like credits on an old film, a roll call of lost professions, slate cutter, gamekeeper, sommelier, market gardener, butcher's boy, seamstress, blacksmith, breeder of rabbits, and the dole queue flaneur, the last, my grandfather, tempering each day to a fine point on the soft anvil of his idleness. Artisan du temps libre, he called himself, artisan of the empty hours, filling his days of worklessness in the Café de la Gare, then hollowing out his nights in the Hôtel de la Gare. He never made his mark on anything, and yet I see him everywhere.
Scusa, c'è una nota nel testo italiano perché in italiano le sleepers si chiamano traversine e quindi il gioco di parole che lui fa purtroppo in italiano non si riesce a riprodurre.
This is a poem called The Other Side. It began as an attempt to write an elegy for somebody close to me who had died, and I thought that I would try to write a poem full of meaning and seriousness.
È un tentativo di scrivere The Other Side, l'altro lato, di scrivere un'elegia per una persona che è morta, che gli era molto cara, e che però
And I decided that maybe I didn't succeed, and I decided that maybe what I could do for them was giving them the gift of not having to be meaningful, and that maybe the dead are quite pleased not to have to keep coming to tell us truths. Maybe we should just leave them alone.
Quindi quasi il dono che lui fa ai morti è quello di non essere così, di non avere significato, e forse in questo c'è riuscito e gli ha fatto veramente un dono.
The dead flit lightly by. They have no ballast. Nothing can keep them down. Slowly, like zeppelins on the horizon or thoughts coming into view, they go about our lives. Death has not altered their priorities. They keep things in perspective. They are as down to earth as ever. They shop locally, mow their universal lawns. Around them, a civil breeze of trespass rustles in the trees, bends the flowers in the flower beds, pries the shutters open as the darkness rolls in from our day. But they're not nostalgic. Life goes on, they seem to say. All is much the same. Eternity is just a small town age, and night a darker shade of beige. This poem is self-explanatory. Naming the animals. First, just the one word. Not doing as he asked. Not coming when he called, like a dog, like the word dog, disobedient. Sullenly joining the packhounds, the uncollared, past the perimeter and out of town. Others followed until he no longer knew if it was he or they who left. If he needed the word now, he designed all he had to say around its absence. It started at table with venison. It always had something of the forest to it, musky, rustling, its sound so far as meat in the mouth from the deer it lived as, that one day he knew the word only from the shadow that it cast in heartbeats, hiding in some doubtful thicket where his tongue no longer goes. Then all the animals, one by one, they left. They became a forest at night, a sea in the dark. The species coming loose from their names, throwing them off like saddles, horses bucking the word horse, the dog biting that word that said it. That bit, he says, that bit. We're all listening now. His conversation has become A room everyone drifts into, nods at everyone else, then leaves again. A party you need to show your face at, and then go. That bit in the Bible, and whatsoever Adam called every living creature, that was the name thereof. That bit, it's what's happening to me backwards. Let's skip doors and windows.
Yes.
We don't need it, it's boring.
No?
Let's skip it.
Skip it? Lo saltiamo.
It's too long and it's too depressing.
Too depressing.
We'll finish with 2 pieces of prose, yeah?
Ah, ok. Sì.
Chiave. Chiavi.
Yes. Questo, you want to say that
Yes,
first?
this is from a book of memories called Other People's Countries, because one's own childhood is somebody else's country. It belongs to the child, and you're no longer the child. And so when you think about your childhood, you are traveling to a different country where you are a stranger.
Questo è tratto appunto da quel memoir di cui vi dicevo all'inizio e parla della sua infanzia e diciamo che l'infanzia ad un certo punto, quando è passata, è il paese di qualcun altro, other people's countries.
And when you visit that country, you're always somehow apologizing to your parents for having grown up and for having left the child behind.
E alla fine cosa succede? Che continui a chiedere scusa ai tuoi genitori per essere cresciuto, per non essere più quel bambino di una volta.
So this is a series of prose fragments about my working class factory working family in Belgium who brought me up before they turned me into an Englishman in Britain.
E questa è una serie di piccoli brani in prosa che appunto ricordano questo periodo della sua vita in passato appunto nella città belga di Bouillon, e prima che, quando era quindi belga, prima che i suoi genitori lo trasformassero in un inglese portandolo in Gran Bretagna.
Keys. Watching an old police procedural, probably a Maigret, sometime in the early 80s while convalescing from glandular fever, an illness that I experienced more as convalescence than as an actual illness. That is to say, I felt I was simply recovering from something rather than actually having the something to recover from in the first place. It came to me, a thief pushing a key into putty so that its outline would be caught in the relief. Then you could copy it, then burgle the house. That was memory, I realized, a putty with which you could make another key, which would open the same door, but never quite as well. And in no time, you'd be burgling your own past with that slightly off-key key that always got you in, though there was less and less to take. God, that's so depressing, I'm sorry. It was meant to be...
Gli dispiace di essere così deprimente.
I start trying to say something in one way and it finishes the other way. I don't know. It becomes the
È cominciato in
contraire.
un modo e finito nell'altro.
This is the last piece. Cardinal Mazarin. Monnaie à train Mazarin is to flaunt yourself like Mazarin, to live the life of Riley. It's one of those patois Walloon phrases I heard a lot. It goes back to the days when Cardinal Mazarin, Louis XIV's chief minister and the successor to Richelieu, passed through Bouillon, leaving an impression of such wealth and opulence that the term is still used today. I first heard it when my grandmother used it to describe a neighbor buying a color television. But by the time she had her own color television, she was using it to describe people who had 2 color televisions, because it's always someone else who flaunts themselves like Mazarin. Thank you. Grazie.
Grazie.
Thank you, Patrick.
Thank you.
See you later.
So we'll see you later.
Grazie.
Ci vediamo dopo.
Sì.
Grazie.